Position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4. 4 positions, all of which are oriented towards maximizing your short range engagement of the posterior shoulder. Let's talk about the setup first. I've got 2 cable handles. You may have to use a long range type of thing that attaches to one cable. Your mileage may vary. You may have wide ones, but whatever happens, you are trying to equip something that will allow you to pull out in this direction. If it doesn't quite let you do that, this may not be the movement for you. This is what you need. Bench is however far away I need to make this work. I like to have a bench back target as opposed to freewheeling so that my upper body isn't moving around doing stuff. I can use my legs to pin myself in place so that my shoulders are doing the work. From there, I've got 4 ranges. The first range is my standard post-out range. I like to have my hands just south of my shoulders or wherever you feel the most in terms of your immediate post-out. If I start getting too high, I start getting into other shoulder stuff. If I start getting too low, it might be lats and serratus and stuff like that. From there, my first range, post out. My second range is a trap 3 raise. So I'm trying to maintain a Y position in my hands and go straight up overhead. Now you'll notice I'm not getting technically straight up overhead because, well, it turns out I'm not magnificently strong in this range. I don't have amazing shoulder mobility in this range. I am, however, keeping myself accountable with my abs as opposed to I could get overhead by going like this. I've completely broken my position. I've done myself no favors in terms of my actual trap 3 raise. So what I like to do is lock that down, try and keep my low back in contact with the bench, and work to engage the range even if I can't get maximally high. Next ranges, we get to our rotational ranges. So my elbows draw back and my hands come up. From there, I leave my elbows in place and rotate my hands around my elbow and shoulder. This can very quickly kind of turn into almost like a face pull, just because the rotational ranges tend to be a little bit weaker. If that's the case, lower the weight. You may have to change weight in between these things. I like to have them all be equal, all approaching as one set because, well, my shoulder has to stabilize in all these directions. I don't get to magically change the weight if something is a little bit awkward. Rotation, and then rotation down here. My elbows are tucked in. I'm not going to get very far here. This is a very difficult range, but I'm trying to reach out and get strong across probably the most common range. Most people will tend to do this with one arm and they'll go like this kind of thing. But what will tend to happen is their body moves so much that they really don't get nearly as much as they think they do, or they'll go into extension out to here. And so when I've coached people through this in the past, adding 2 arms really dials this in because you realize how little movement you can get, but immediately I'm smoking my posterior shoulder like crazy. You may feel a huge difference there if you have been using bands or any of those areas that I mentioned come into play. 4 ranges, go light. I've got 5 pounds on the other side, 10 pounds total on my machine. I've had people train this unloaded to start and just working on getting squeeze at end range, okay? That's all totally fine. When in doubt, go a little bit lighter. Get your setup tight, get it how you like it. Be very systematic with your ranges, nice and tight with the abs. You're trying to build some volume and conditioning across those posterior shoulder ranges.